No one saw it coming. When Chelsea fans envisioned the midfield engine for the 2025-26 season, they imagined billion-pound rotations, marquee names, and transfer headlines that would shake the league. They thought of Lavia's long-awaited redemption. They imagined Caicedo finally living up to his price tag. They even dreamed of another Enzo Fernandez rebirth under a new coach. But absolutely no one expected Leslie Ugochukwu to quietly rise as the man Enzo Moresca would trust. With the heart of his system, yet there he was, day after day during preseason at Kabam. The towering 20-year-old Frenchman wasn't just fitting in, he was controlling tempo, leading transitions, and winning the respect of teammates with a kind of presence that didn't shout. It whispered. Confidence. Sources from within the club describe him as the most tactically composed player of the summer. While other midfielders were adjusting to Moresca's positional demands, finding the half spaces, reading inverted lanes, Ugochukwu played like he already spoke the language. Silent, efficient, smart. This wasn't the same player who arrived in 2023 as a raw talent from Rennes, overshadowed by Chelsea's midfield chaos and forgotten in the storm of panic buys. This version of Ugochukwu was reborn. Behind the scenes, Moresca wasn't just watching, he was planning. According to insiders, the Italian tactician immediately identified Ugochukwu as a pivot prototype, a player capable of anchoring a 3-2-5 in possession, breaking opposition lines with vertical simplicity, and most importantly, resisting pressure under fire. In private sessions, Moresca tested Ugochukwu's press resistance by simulating high-speed traps in tight spaces. Ugochukwu passed almost every test. His calmness on the ball, his body orientation, the way he uses his long legs to shield the ball and delay chaos, all of it spoke to a football IQ beyond his age. But perhaps the most telling sign of trust the drills. Instead of pairing him with other young players, Ugochukwu was consistently slotted into combinations with Enzo, Gallagher, and Chilwell, the backbone of Chelsea's system. A clear message: you belong here. You're not backup. Still, not everyone is convinced. Some Chelsea supporters online argue this is too much, too soon. One decent preseason doesn't make a starter. One fan tweeted, "Where's the experience?" Another asked. Pundits on talk shows raised their eyebrows at the idea of Moresca entrusting his midfield to a player who only played 614 Premier League minutes last season. But Moresca doesn't seem rattled. In fact, his coaching staff reportedly refers to Ugochukwu as the ghost in the gears, invisible when things go right, but the difference maker when they don't. Unlike the flashier profiles, Chelsea has poured millions into Ugochukwu. Isn't here to impress with highlight reels. He's here to bring structure, silence the chaos, and offer the kind of spatial intelligence most players spend a decade trying to learn. Then there's the emotional side of it all. Ugochukwu is quiet by nature, reserved. In last year's locker room, he was just another kid trying to find his place. But this summer, something changed. Staff noticed he stayed late after training, not just for shooting or dribbling, but for film sessions. He watched Sergio Busquets' clips. He studied Rodri's positioning. He obsessed over Guardiola's midfield triangles. He started asking questions during tactical meetings, questions Moresca liked. He's become a student of structure, said one source close to the club. And it's not just what Ugochukwu is doing with the ball. It's how teammates are reacting to him. Raheem Sterling was seen applauding him after a training match for a smart defensive cover. Reece James reportedly told staff he's starting to feel like the anchor we've been missing. That kind of internal validation can't be bought now. As Chelsea prepares for their opening matches against physical, pressing-heavy teams, Moresca is preparing to do something bold. Build his midfield around a player the media isn't even watching. The risk? Immense. The reward? Potentially transformational. Because if Ugochukwu steps up not just to play, but to lead, Chelsea might finally have found what they've lacked since Matic left. A midfield pillar who doesn't crave the spotlight, but thrives in the shadows. And just like that, the quietest player in the room might be holding the loudest responsibility on the pitch. Asterisk, when you build a castle, you don't start with the rooftop. You dig into the soil and pray the foundation will hold. That's exactly what Enzo Moresca is doing at Chelsea, and Leslie Ugochukwu is the stone he's placing first. Taught as the 2025-26 season kicks off, all eyes are on the Stamford Bridge spotlight. But curiously, it's not the 100 million pounds men standing at center stage. It's the 20-year-old Frenchman who cost the club less than a quarter of that. And yet, he now carries the structural weight of a system designed to outthink and outpress every opponent Chelsea faces. But here's the twist. Moresca's gamble isn't just tactical, it's deeply psychological. In a world obsessed with instant results and shirt sales, Moresca is betting on long-term coherence over short-term headlines. And he knows that if Ugochukwu thrives in this role, Chelsea won't just fix their midfield, they'll rewrite the script of what player development and belief can look like in a post-Bowley era. But the risks are steep. Chelsea's fixture list is unforgiving. Opening clashes against physical sides like Wolves and Brentford are set to test Ugochukwu's ability to dictate pace while shielding a defensive line still adapting to positional demands. One slip, one error under pressure, and the media will circle like sharks. And yet, Moresca remains unshaken in tactical meetings. He reminds his staff that control isn't a moment, it's a philosophy. With Ugochukwu as the pivot, Chelsea is aiming to win not just with explosive counters, but with intelligent suffocation, a methodical pressing game that forces opponents into panic and then slices them apart with calm precision. This is not an approach that fits every player, but he was made for this. Meanwhile, inside the dressing room, an evolution is underway. Teammates now refer to him as La Mur, the wall. In training, he's dictating where Enzo Fernandez moves, when Conor Gallagher overlaps, and how the build-up starts from the back. Veteran players who once saw him as the quiet one now nod when he speaks. Sterling, James, and even Chilwell have all reportedly backed Moresca's decision privately. But what makes this moment even more powerful is what's happening off the pitch. This summer, Ugochukwu turned down loan offers from Germany and Italy not because of pride, but because of purpose. I want to earn this shirt the hard way, he told a friend, according to Cobham sources. I want to prove to myself that I belong here not someday, but now. And when asked by a journalist about handling pressure, his answer was chillingly, mature pressure is when you play for people who don't believe in you. I don't feel pressure here. I feel trust. That trust is now being tested in the harshest crucible of them all, the Premier League. But here's the real plot twist, the one no one saw coming. In the preseason team hierarchy draft, when Moresca was assigning shirt responsibilities and leadership roles, he penciled Ugochukwu into the leadership council not as a captain, but as a communicator between the youth and the senior core, a role normally reserved for players 5 to 7 years older. It was a quiet but thunderous message. You are not our experiment. You are our bridge. That bridge now links the chaos of Chelsea's recent past with the tactical clarity of Moresca's vision. And if Ugochukwu holds that bridge, if he doesn't just survive but commands, he could become the kind of story that inspires documentaries, not just for his play, but for his journey from overlooked squad player to system cornerstone. So, what happens next? That depends on the weight Ugochukwu can carry, not just with his body, but with his mind, his vision, and his voice. Because if he succeeds, Moresca's faith will look like genius. Chelsea's engine will finally hum in rhythm. And a 20-year-old kid from Rennes, once lost in a sea of million-pound egos, will become the symbol of something far more valuable than height, patience, trust, identity, and just like that, the quietest revolution at Stamford Bridge might have already begun right at the feet of Leslie Ugochukwu.